second annual OUE Shark Challenge. Before I get started, I would like to have the Dean, Dr. Paul Abraham, come up and say a few words on behalf of the university.
Thank you, Kyle. I want to welcome everyone to campus. It's great to have you here. Kyle mentioned this is our second year, so we're still growing and learning from our experiences, but Tech Growth is a partner with this project, and we're trying to engage students in their creative abilities. We know they've got a lot of creative energy, and we're trying to get them to think in terms of the future, in terms of new industries and new technologies. I want to thank everybody who has been working hard on this. Mike Shore, he's out there somewhere. Mike has done an enormous amount of work putting the program together and organizing the Shark team, which is his group of students who work on this throughout the year. And Kyle is the leader of the Shark team. I also want to thank the students. They're going to do amazing work. They've already been through one trial run already. They've received comments from the judges. They through their test run, they learned a lot. They're going to do great work tonight for us. And of course, the coaches and the Shark team, the judges they've taken a lot of time out to come out and observe the students and give them comments. So again, on behalf of the campus, I want to say thanks very much. And we're kind of learning the 3D technology here, and we're very interested in that. That's sort of our next horizon with applied to management, as to how to get them to learn more about 3D printing. But you can see here we have a little shark that we were able to construct. It was a little 3-hour project. So and sit back and enjoy. You're going to love the work of our students.
Thank you, Dean Abraham. That's the second Sharky that we have. The first one's named Poseidon.
I get better every year.
Yeah. So we would like to thank you all for coming. We would like to thank the teams. These are the 4 teams advancing from last week's preliminary round. The 4 teams advancing, and in the order of which they will perform tonight, will be Ohio University Eastern, Eastern Gateway Community College Spindler, Belmont College, and Ohio University Zanesville. Before we get started, I would like to give you a general format of how tonight will proceed. The teams will come up and present a PowerPoint presentation to the judges, who I will introduce in just a second. But they will present for 10 minutes, followed by a 10-minute Q&A session with the judges, where they'll try to delve into a deeper understanding of their proposal. After all 4 teams have gone, we will break for a short intermission where the judges will deliberate. Once they have deliberated and decided, there will be 2 placements tonight. First prize $1,000 and second prize $500. With that being said, I would like to introduce to you the judges for tonight's proceedings. Denise Pence, who is the Executive Director of Wealth Management at Premier Bank. David McCarley, who is the CEO and Managing Partner of Water Remediation Services. And Megan Cook, who is the COO of Mustang Oilfield Services. I would like to thank the judges for all their work that they've put in over the past couple weeks, and the dialogue they provided last week and tonight, which we will see shortly. With that being said, we will go ahead and get started with the first team, and that will be Ohio University Eastern.
Hi, I'm Ezra Bennett. This is Griffin Roberts and Jonathan Marhefka. And I want to talk to you a little bit about phones, the smartphones of today. These devices have changed the world in about a decade or so. I mean, just on your phone right now, in this audience, you could pull out one of those things and you could order a pizza just by pressing a few buttons. Or you could call an Uber driver for somebody to come pick you up who already knows your location based on where you are. Well, what if we took that technology and we put it in an industry that really desperately needs it? That is our project. The Full Tilt service We are an app and web-based mediator service for self-employed contractors. We prioritize convenience, because right now in the industry, it is very inconvenient. You call them up, you have to schedule an appointment a couple weeks away from the day that you want it done, and they give you a couple hours windows of when they could show up, but our app is here to solve this problem. It's relatively autonomous on the large scale. There's not a lot of manpower behind it, and that is one of the benefits of it being an app and web-based service. Now, I'm going to walk you through how this service would work. Step 1, a certified service provider will sign up to receive work requests on 1099 self-employed status. The customer will then request a service by going onto their app, typing in their problem. We dispatch a worker with an estimated time of arrival using GPS technology similar to Uber's software, so it connects the two of them very easily, quickly, and conveniently. And upon completion, payment will be made through the app. And the final step is Full Tilt will collect a finder's fee and forward the remainder of the money to the independent contractor. Now, on to talk about growth opportunity is Griffin Roberts.
Thank you much. The autonomous nature of our app makes it very easy for it to grow explosively. It can be done anywhere. Someone in Chicago could get the app and create a profile and begin offering services. Someone in Detroit could do the same. It's not limited by our immediate locale. So our goal here is to have it everywhere. We want this app in every household in the United States. Obviously, they're not all using it at once, but that being a numbers game, enough of them will use it, assuming we manage to do it. Like I said, we're planning on introducing this into places like Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia first, high population density areas, and then naturally flowing into lower population density areas. Which brings us in a roundabout way to the finances there we have to have. The application design itself has an estimated cost of about $250,000. Then customer service representatives, 24/7 to deal with any questions or concerns, about $500,000. And then for benefits and liabilities insurance with those employees, another $1 million. Now, our service providers are contractors. That is pulled directly from the IRS as a definition, differentiating contractors from employees. Put simply, we don't control the behavior of the employee. They do the job however they want to do it. We don't control the financial abilities of that employee or contractor, I apologize. They can charge what they feel is necessary. They provide us with an estimate for the app, but it's still coming from them. And we don't provide any benefits for them. We don't provide them with anything except the opportunity to work. So, to elaborate on capitalizing on the market, Jonathan Marhefka.
All right. So the market of real-time GPS between two parties, just like what Uber's using right now, is just starting to become a big thing. What that's delivering is the ability to, in real time, see both parties. So for Comcast, which just recently introduced a system within the cable industry, similar to what we are looking to do in a separate industry, is you can track their employee to your house. You know exactly when they're going to come, when they left, and when the job is completed. Through recent technological developments, Comcast has shown this to be successful, which is wonderful because what they've done is test and proved that the benefits and application for this software is necessary. To exit the market, there's going to be very few solid assets. That means we can sell the company. To cut contracts will be very simple since everybody's on 1099 status. And in conclusion to this proposal, a short recap is that with the advancement of technology, we're able to offer a mobile app that can change the face of this service industry and bring convenience to the trade-oriented markets. And Full Tilt Service is a unique mediator that can help pioneer a much-needed upgrade to an industry that's been stagnant for far too long. That's all.
At this time, we will move to our Q&A portion with the judges.
I had a smile on my face the entire time. You guys really took some of the things that we said last week and put it on the PowerPoint presentation. I love that you named it. I love the name. I think it's very catchy. I am also really glad that you guys took a look at your finances. I think those are real numbers on the board this week. That truly what you need to get into your bigger markets with your investments. So very, very, very happy to see that. Not gonna lie, I said I was gonna invest last week. You sold me even more this week. So I think you guys did a really great job.
Can you elaborate a little bit for me about why you would be going into those large metro markets versus a smaller market first? What's your thought process of that, and how do you plan to manage a market you don't know?
I recently spent a little bit of time in Philadelphia just visiting, and I spent a little bit of time in Detroit with my dad. We like to travel. And what that allowed me to see was you could take one worker and cover a lot more potential customer base than you could take here. So
Is that just because of travel time?
Uh,
Or are you thinking
it's-
because of the
it's-
density of the
yeah,
population?
due to the density of the population, and then unfortunately due to the quality in which those larger cities live. We're fortunate enough to where we are fairly well off. Poverty and rundown houses were something I saw a lot of, and that led me to believe that there would be an increase in work potential in those areas, and that's why I feel it would be best to introduce it there first.
Okay. How about, you talked a little bit about the liability, the 1099 issue, what you're able to relieve yourself as far as a tax consequence and possibly a more global legal consequence. How about image control? Although you may not be legally liable or have a tax liability associated with that, but how would you manage damage control of your image if someone messes something up?
Depending on the nature of the mess up, as you put it.
That's a technical term.
It would often be in our interest to let that particular contractor not use the app any further,
Okay.
depending on what they've done. Otherwise, we could recommend that they work with the employer at the end and try and come to some sort of resolution. It depends on what happened.
Yeah, it'll be important that you get your head around that, being a business owner in today's society. Messages travel really fast, and you can't control what someone puts on social media about you and how someone else doing something can reflect on you. So good policies around that and how you address it with the press as well as on social media would be really helpful.
So I assume you're gonna market this to the businesses as your primary line, and they're gonna take care of getting out in the population for you, sharing 10.
Yes.
Okay. So what's your sales pitch to the business? Because, you know, they're looking for a differentiator, but you're looking to make this broad-based. So if you're giving it to everybody in their market, what's their advantage?
Well, the advantage is that we're bringing a technology that formerly has not been in this market. This connection between this type of work in these businesses and the customers that they're trying to reach, this will help them reach customers a whole lot easier, because as it stands right now, this type of connection to get them to them at this convenience is currently not in the market.
Well, the thing I would say is when Bob has it and Joe and Carl don't, that's one thing. When Bob and Joe and Carl all have it, then you get into price competition. You know what I'm saying?
That is a scenario that we've definitely discussed through the building of this proposal, and for me it was more in the growth side of things. If we found that it was more beneficial to sell the app to individual companies rather than to the individual, we could do so with an exclusive right to that particular market. So it'd just be a we would just write a contract based that they would be the only electrical service or the only plumbing service within a X mile radius that would be offered with full tilt.
Exclusivity drives the price upward.
Yes.
That's the other. All right. Relative to competition, you said Time Warner, of course, has already developed a staff for their service technicians, et cetera. So the technology is out there, so you're not reinventing the wheel, which is good. You're just kind of replicating, but that brings up barriers to entry for competition. So if you introduce this into a market, what type of barriers exist that's going to preserve your market share?
The barriers that exist is mostly advertising, trying to get the message out there, trying to get people to use it is basically the only thing that this service needs to grow is a user base. That is our primary focus.
The barrier I think that you're looking for and that I can best answer with would be that we're going to introduce this first. We're going to pioneer this for that market. So if we capture 80% of the market right off the bat, anybody else who comes in will have to have a significant upgrade to what we already offer to pull clientele from us or from the contractors. So being able to capitalize on a large scale market very quickly will leave a much smaller percentile for anybody to kind of jump in and take from us.
We believe that we're in a time and place where the technology exists and has been demonstrated by Time Warner and by Uber, but before there is anything like us in the market. We believe that the time is such that we're on the bleeding edge, as it were. We are situated so that if we enter the market, our competition will be minimal because it just hasn't been done yet. And the technology, we are not reinventing the wheel, as you said.
Well, yeah, you've created a new market niche that you can dominate. I would just say in your budget, you want to reflect the fact that leading a market on that bleeding edge, they call it the bleeding edge because you're bleeding money. So to maintain that primacy, that's something you need to take care of, look at in your pro forma.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Next, we will have Eastern Gateway Community College present. And while they're getting ready, there are a lot of people that we would like to thank. We work very closely here at the university with a lot of different departments, and there has been so many people who have been so good to us. The dean's office and Pam Saffel, who have been there to help us. Nancy Edgar, who does all of our printing, who couldn't be here tonight. There are just a lot of people at the university who are willing to help, and that is something we're very thankful for. So thank you, Dean, and to everyone at the university for helping us. So with that being said, Eastern Gateway.
Good evening. I'm Aaron Thomas.
I'm Philip Stouts.
And I'm Seth Fouts. And we are Buy Ohio Collegiate Card. Started in Ohio and keep it in Ohio. There we go. All right, so you can all think of these questions. Have you gone to college? What is your student debt? How long is it going to take you to pay off that debt? The first step in taking control of that debt is to limit the wasted spending. The U.S. student loan debt is $1.28 trillion. 44.2 million Americans have student loan debt. The student loan delinquency rate is 11%. The average monthly student loan payment is $351. Some more facts. Ohio is 16th in student loan debt. 65% of Ohio college graduates last year took out financial aid. The average Ohio debt is $29,391, and 6 out of 10 college graduates have student debt. The only current government restriction on these grants is that you're not allowed to buy a vehicle. The Stafford loans and direct Stafford loans say that you are only allowed to spend it on tuition, room and board, fees, books, supplies, equipment, dependent child care, and transportating and commuting expenses. However, there is no government they don't monitor these restrictions. How it works is the grant or loan money is applied to the tuition, fees, and room and board if the student stays on campus. The leftover money is given to the student through his or her chosen payment method. Our solution is the Buy Ohio Collegiate Card. It would have an RFID chip, which stands for Radio Frequency Identification, which would restrict this financial aid spending. It would control the funds on the loans and keep them from being wasted. And our company works directly with colleges to get the loan money returned to them more quickly and more efficiently.
So our target market is the 150 plus colleges and higher education institutions all throughout Ohio. Here's how our company works. So the refund is put directly onto the card, and there will be restrictions, pre-designated restrictions put onto the card so the student can't waste their money on things that aren't essential for college. This card can never expire, so their payments can also be made to repay back student loans even after their time at college is done. Some of the many benefits are colleges can say goodbye to paper checks. They won't have to waste time and money spent on stamps, envelopes, and writing out checks. Students will be able to pay off their loans faster and not have to worry about acquiring more debt. Our company, Buy Ohio Collegiate Card, will make a 1% royalty off of it. Our startup costs are around $65,000 for a small office, computers, desks, chairs, staff, and website graphics. Our estimated profit for the first year is $8 to $9 million, and we would be seeking $65,000 in exchange for 20% equity. So this is our website. On our website, we will include tabs for colleges to go there and apply, and for students to keep track of their financial statements, so they can follow what they've already spent money on and better spend money in the future. And then we also will have an application that you can download directly from the site, so you can be more mobile and track your savings as you're going. So, are you in? Thank you.
At this time, we will move to the Q&A with the judges.
We, as I remembered, you were going to have Bank of America as a partner to make your cards. And I think they dropped out of your presentation there. So who's going to make your cards?
Yeah, we actually went to a couple different banks to do research to see what restrictions they could put on these cards. And all the banks we talked to, we went to Chase, Huntington, and First National, I believe.
Yeah.
And no one there could give us an answer. They were unsure about these restrictions, which is why we have moved to the radio frequency identification card, because you can put those restrictions on those cards.
So we can do it all ourselves. We wouldn't need a bank.
Right. The only thing the bank would be for the account that would hold the money.
I'm just, as I remember it from your cost, you're looking at $65,000. That didn't include the equipment to make a few 100,000 or a million or however many cards.
Right. We would still be doing that through the bank. We just haven't chosen a bank yet because it doesn't really matter at this point. We can do it through any bank because we would be actually making the chip. But we would still be using the bank accounts. So we would have to make a card through the bank, but we would still be storing the money in the bank itself.
And a lot of the student IDs at colleges already have the RFID chip in them to use to print stuff, and just it's connected to you as a student. It has all your information on it.
So at 1% the royalty, and you're looking at making $8 to $9 million,
Yes.
that would mean that you're looking at
about $4.5 million a semester is what we had figured.
The question would be then, if you're gonna have the bank carrying the load on this and you're making 1% off of this, right, on the transactions, what part of that $8 to $9 million that you're estimating is gonna be eaten up by the bank and their fees?
You mean how is the bank going to benefit?
No, how much money are they gonna take out of your wallet?
It really depends on the bank itself. So we would have to set up a contract with the bank in the future. And since this isn't an actual like business yet, we don't have a contract to fill out. So we would have to like actually talk to a bank. Right now, we were discussing like a 2% fee for the bank. But of course, it would be completely up to them. So that's just a variable that we can't really predict at this moment.
Okay, let me speak up for the banks for just a moment. Had you come and talked to me, I could have answered the question. What you're proposing, a bank is not going to sign up for, simply because you holding the money in the account and you having an outside card that's going to enable you to access that, it's regulation wouldn't allow for that. So before you would take a step out, and don't get me wrong, having had a child go through college and doing all of that with her, the idea I love. I love the idea of, I hate the amount of student debt that's in the United States right now. It's unbelievable to me when there's countries that children can live in and go to school for free. And it's obviously a problem that needs to be addressed. And I think that parents would feel a lot better. Frankly, I think it's a crime that these kids get this extra money and they don't necessarily register it's debt that they have to pay back at some point. So I get it. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think you need to do a lot more research about this type of industry is highly, highly, highly regulated. And just because you're moving money for an individual. So spending some time getting to know banking regulations a little bit more, getting to know the cash end of things a little bit more would be hugely beneficial. I feel like some of your answers are kind of off the hip, which is fine, and with the research that you've done, you just obviously need to do a little bit more. You're stepping into an area where, because the government's involved, what makes sense isn't always what is going to be reality. So, and the restrictions that are there could hinder what you're trying to do. So, again, there's no better way to get prepared to starting a business than to truly get prepared and try to think of all of those things. And maybe putting some money into having a consultant help you do that that's really familiar with the banking industry and those regulations would be helpful. I think at that type of revenue, giving away 20% of your business for $65,000 is probably a mistake too.
Right.
So if that really comes to fruition, you've left a lot on the table to that investor who has really put little time or effort into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, question that I have is that these cards are reloadable, you told us last time. How do you plan to manage the multiple student loans? Again, knowing it just from personal interest, you might have a student loan with 4 different entities, not just government loan, but bank loans out there as well. Did you do any research on how you'd be able to put all that together onto one card for these students?
What?
Are you
Can you
only
restate the
focusing on
question?
government loans, or Discover offers student loans, Chase offers student loans? Is all of this going to be on one card that the parents and the student can track, or were you only aiming to have this available for government student loans?
The research that we did was mostly on the government loan side,
Okay.
but we had talked about loans from the banks, and the goal would be to get them all onto the same card, but pursuing that might be challenging. But we also talked about normally the loans from the banks are going to have a higher interest rate, so they're going to be less common.
So again, I think it's a much needed education tool that you guys are proposing, to college students. I don't know that, like I said, the card, I had a little bit of concern last week about it and the security and how you get people from hacking in and stealing people's money and things like that. I had a little concern last week about that. But I think you're on to something. I think that you have really good ideas on that education level and what college students should be spending their money on and what investments they should be making between the ages of 18 and 25 for most people that are given these student loans that don't really know what to do with this money. So again, I agree with Denise. I think it's a great idea. I'm still concerned about the security of it. If I was 19 years old, would I secure my $10,000 loan on a $65,000 investment? I don't know. Again, that still scares me a little bit. So, yeah, I think, and also I think the 20% is a if those are your projections, that's a big that's a big part of your company for that person to get.
Yeah, the main reason why we put 20% is because we don't actually have any money to invest ourselves. So they would be the sole investor in the company. And so they could just be like, no. And we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because we don't have any money ourselves. So
That's a good answer to that. Yes.
Well, bear in mind on that too, that you never get something for nothing, as it were, and
Right.
somebody doesn't value something as highly when you give it to them for nothing. So make sure you put a good valuation on it so that they appreciate what they're investing in and have seriousness about it. But on the other end, we were looking at your exit strategy too, which came up to us, and I would say that, maybe the exit strategy you want to look at is you build it up enough where somebody like SoFi is going to come in and pick it up as a service, because then they have a loan consolidation service where they can go out and pick up all those loans, et cetera, and then put it on your card. That's where it is.
Very good foundation there. That's a good job.
Thank you.
Belmont. There are a lot of people who we would like to thank, as I said before. This is our second year doing this, our second annual OUE Shark Challenge. I was an intern on it last year and worked with a lot of really good people to put it together. And it was tough doing it the first year. There was a lot of things that we didn't consider and a lot of things that we needed to rethink. And so going into this year, I had a lot of great help in the fall and the spring. I would like to recognize some of those people. In the spring this year, I've had Luke McDonough, Sydney Baum, and in the past couple of weeks, Zach Strickland helping me. And they've been a great help over the past semester and putting together PowerPoint slides and getting presentations done for us. So they've been a great help. Back in the fall, I had Giselle Wells and Brian Spence, who have since graduated, and they were great. I miss them. No, but they were great. And then last year, to start off, Malachi Benish really spearheaded the effort here with Mike Shore in getting this going, along with myself and Lena Davis and Leah Ward, who were unable to be here tonight. So I really just want to thank all those people for getting this event off the ground and giving me an opportunity to succeed in my role this year. So thank you. And with that being said, Belmont College.
Good evening. I'm Hannah Perkins. This is David Barcroft, and unfortunately, Dylan couldn't make it this evening. His grandfather's ill in the hospital. Quilts, pottery, furniture, toys, jewelry, plants, and cast iron, which all leads to the pottery shed. The pottery shed is high-quality furnishings and gifts. We expect to be located in a downtown community. Fixtures and decor are expected to cost $150,000. Summary of significant accounting projections and accounting policies. We expect our business to be organized as an LLC, whereby profits and losses will flow through to the members. Each member will pay his or her income tax based on the proportionate share of income. We expect our gross profit to be 40% across all lines. We expect to lease our facility to limit initial investment. Some of the larger inventory items will be available on an order basis. As much as possible, our product line will be purchased from Ohio suppliers. On our income statement, what we really want to hit on is the fact that our cost of goods sold is estimated at 60% across all lines, leaving a gross profit of 40%. Depreciation is allocated using the straight line depreciation method for $150,000 over 7 years, and principal reduction is calculated by borrowing $400,000 at a 6.5% interest rate over 15 years. Break-even is where a company's profits equals their expenses. Our first level of volume would leave it at $672,000, and as our volume increases, our break-even would also increase.
The potential business locations would be downtown business districts. Why would we choose that? That's the heart and soul of the communities, and it would also be good economically and also good for the communities.
Also with the downtown, we understand foot traffic, but we also understand that folks will come for quality products at a fair price and for exceptional customer service. Marketing strategies, we anticipate utilizing traditional advertising strategies, including print and radio. 2% of our sales have been allocated to those costs. Online promotion and advertising will be accomplished through an interactive website and active social media presence. We hope our best marketing strategy will be highly satisfied customers and high-quality products. As our business grows, we expect to also add additional product lines. Marketing plan. We will offer holiday and seasonal sales such as March Madness sales, Small Business Saturday, and 4th of July sales. We plan to participate in local craft shows and business expos to spread our name around the community. We will offer online exclusive items such as other designs of furniture, quilts, and jewelry. Delivery services will be offered to customers for larger items such as furniture. Our logo we came up with, we gave the judges a copy of 4 different ones. However, we felt like this fit our theme more.
As you can tell, this is a doable project. As you can tell, our numbers, we can be financed. The numbers are real, they're reasonable. We will be putting 20% of our own money into this business. Our location, our product is a broad-based product. The target marketing is very broad geographically, not limited to one community where we can be located. We would say we wanted to stay with the Ohio craftsmen. Many of our furniture makers, craftsmen, will be from Holmes, Tuscarawas, Wayne counties, other counties surrounding us. Our target marketing is not just one community, but southeastern and eastern Ohio. Mostly where we would be marketing is events and activities, direct mail, email, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Home shows, business expos, and what we really want to be looking for is the word of mouth. Good product gets word. Our expansion, the project is easily duplicated. It can be in other communities as well. Thank you for this opportunity.
We will move to the judges' Q&A.
You expounded a little bit about exclusivity, meaning we talked a little bit last time about products being very similar to what's offered in the Amish country, and you're talking about bringing that closer to home. Can you tell me how you will make sure that what you're selling is unique?
We would do our research and sit down with a designer or something like that to sit down and sketch up designs and research to make sure nobody else has made those designs before we add them to the product line.
Do you expect that will increase cost because they, again, they're coming up with a specific design for you?
Yeah, it would.
And what about, did you do any thinking or research about how much of your business would be in-store business versus online? And did you evaluate that when you're taking a look at wanting to offer both?
That's a good question. We're not looking at that.
One question about that, of course, when you look at the division of what might be online or through your brick and mortar outlet, is that I'm not quite persuaded that your market is local. I think it's more away with urbanites that are looking for that type of craft material, you know, for their decoration projects and things like that. So your online business to large cities might be larger. Have you looked at any of the online demographics of other types of stores that are in the same market that might be?
We haven't, but at the same time, we know that there's still people out there that don't trust the online and they would rather walk into a store and buy our products.
We're also on the word of mouth. I mean, I know if I hear a business going really well or they have good products, I go to them first. That's
Well, you know, one of the, and we try to get this out there a lot, one of the biggest fallacies in business is if you build it, they will come. Okay? So there is a reason that, for good or ill, not making any comment on that, but there's a reason that the downtown stores are empty that you're looking at. Okay? There are market reasons for that, economic reasons. So you have to take that into account when you're saying that, you know, you're going to get people in there and foot traffic and everything like that. But what I would counsel if you're going to go after this, look for towns that have Main Streets programs that are already going that you might be able to ally with to help you out.
Like we spoke last week, I love the idea of the LLC. I love that the owners are a part of it and a part of the day-to-day. I have a few reservations about the name, and it didn't hit me till you guys put a logo to the name. I feel like I'm gonna go there and make pottery. So it could be a big misconception to your consumers. I still think the idea is good. I think the two other judges are correct. I think you guys might have teensy bit underestimated your online. And you may want to relook at your investment to your online stores. I know last week we talked about Etsy and some of the online retailers. I think that could be a huge revenue stream for this because of the intricate designs and some of the products that you are offering. There are exclusive to Ohio. We've seen them. We probably have them going outside the Ohio market. I think could be huge for you guys. And the logos, yeah, it wasn't until I saw it on paper that I was like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna go there to make pottery. But last week I didn't get that because I didn't see we didn't have a logo last week. You know, so sometimes you seeing stuff on paper. I do like the logo that you all chose though. I do like that. It's very eye-catching and very, it makes me want to look at it a little bit more rather than some of the other ones like, oh, that just is a pottery shed. You know, so I think that would be a great choice. Yeah, I worry about the downtown just a teensy, and I think I worry with other businesses that don't online market is the demographic that walks in and buys things, is that a dying demographic? And how do we stay relevant to keep your business afloat? So, but I love the idea of a small town store. I think it's a fabulous idea. So, thank you guys so much. Do you guys have any other questions? No. Good job. Thank you.
Our last presentation of the night will be from Ohio University Zanesville. I would like to take a moment to talk about some of the funding that we got this year for the prize money. We, in partnership with Tech Growth Ohio, who's been with us from the beginning, we also partnered with TMI Hospitality this year. And TMI Hospitality is the Residence Inn over by the new Buffalo Wild Wings by the mall. If you ever need to get away, that it is very nice in there. They took us on a tour back in November, October in time, and it was a very nice facility. Also, Murray Energy provided support this year, so we'd like to thank them for their support and their continued support for next year. So with that being said, Ohio University Zanesville.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. My name is Alyssa Myers.
I'm Cameron Corns.
I'm Kelly Robinson.
And we're from OU Zanesville, and we're here to present our Southeastern Ohio Wind Farm. This is an overview of some topics we're going to cover tonight. All right, to start us off, our location will be south of I-70 near New Concord, and will be north of the Wilds, as you can see on the map over here. We'll have a 4-turbine wind farm, and we're going to partner with AEP. The roads that are in place are already suitable for delivery for the parts for the wind turbines, and it's in a remote enough location so that noise pollution won't be an issue. Employment opportunities. The bottom line here is Ohio needs jobs, Southeastern Ohio in particular. During construction, which we estimate to take about 5 years, we will need a planning team, logging crews, construction crews, delivery drivers, and an assembly team, all of which we assess will be able to pull from Southeastern Ohio areas. Except for the planning team, we may have to reach outside the area to get those engineers that are experienced in those fields. Once operational, we'll need a full-time and a part-time staff of an operator, a maintenance team, security guards, and then tour guides. We plan to offer tours to the public, field trips for schools, and so that we can educate the general public about renewable energy and wind energy. And then at the 10-year mark, we plan to place 2 more turbines, and that will once again create those construction jobs. So here is a map of the unemployment rates. As you can see, well, I don't think you can see the numbers, but red and gray are bad, and Southeastern Ohio are completely in the red and the gray, with rates as high as 12.8% in Monroe County. This is January 2017 estimates, so you can see why Southeastern Ohio is in desperate need of something that will provide jobs for our blue-collar workers. Community impact. Renewable energy is a sustainable option for the future. It's good for the planet, and our fossil fuels are a dwindling resource, which we need to find a solution for that problem. At the 10-year mark, we plan to sell directly to businesses and local warehouses and distribution centers at a discounted rate, and that money that will be saved by those businesses will be able to they'll be able to hire new employees and also increase their wage pools, and that will boost the economy. And I already covered the education of the general public through our tours, and then Kelly's going to talk about some governmental requirements here in a few minutes. All right, noise pollution. I did go over how we chose a remote location so as to avoid that noise pollution in residential areas. But wind turbines are a hazard for predatory species of birds. However, the wild has such species as cranes and ostriches, and so that's not going to be particularly a factor. Now I'll turn the time over to Cameron to tell you a little bit about financials.
Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do when you propose building a wind turbine generation facility is determine a location and the wind strength that's going to be present there. Our proposed location, just to the east of Columbus there, is a Class 2 wind strength zone, which means that you're going to have moderate winds. It's not going to be anything crazy like the 3 and 4 seen near Lake Erie, and it's going to be a little bit more strengthy than what's found in most of southeastern Ohio. What that lower 2 instead of a 3 or a 4 wind strength zone is going to mean is that our towers need to be taller and our turbine blades need to be longer. We chose this location due to the nearness of warehouse distribution centers, and other businesses on the I-70 corridor. The turbines that we propose using are a Gamesa 114-2.5, which means they're a 2.5 megawatt unit. And they have 3 blades, which are 56 meters long, which is 184 feet. They have a mounting of a 93 meter or almost a football field in length modular tower, which holds them afloat. And they're IP54 rated and lightning protected, which means that they have a lightning protection system and they are protected from dust and rain, all the elements that you're going to expect a giant tower out in the middle of the field to experience. And we estimate that the output factor on these 4 2.5 megawatt units is 30%. So for every hour, every day, you're estimating that we're going to have about 30% of that listed output put out. So that means that we're going to be producing energy 30% of the time. That includes downtime and other like low wind speed periods, power outages, things of that sort. So why wind? As you can see, in 2005, this cost of nuclear power, fossil fuels, and hydroelectric power generation was a lot lower than what it is presently. Meanwhile, wind turbines combined with gas turbines got cut in half while everything else almost doubled. The only thing that's actually cheaper than wind turbines now are the nuclear power, which is definitely not something we want to go for in this region, and hydroelectric, which has very high startup costs. So as you can see, based on this, we feel as though wind power is probably the best option. It's, as I said, it's even cheaper than fossil fuel generation, which is currently mostly used in this area. Tax benefits. There's a property tax reduction, which takes the total amount liable for property tax on the purchase of the property down to $80,000 one-time payment. And that's contingent upon us securing a partnership with a post-secondary education provider, which we plan on partnering with Ohio University Zanesville. And that would get rid of our property taxes for the most part. And then there's a federal production tax credit, which if we begin if we begin construction, that is groundbreaking, by 2019, which is approximately what we estimate, it will be a credit of 1.18 cents per kilowatt hour. And if we somehow begin groundbreaking sooner than that, it's going to be cheaper. And so our energy produced based on that 30% output is about 26.28 million kilowatt hours of energy, which we plan on selling 75% to American Electric Power for the first 10 years and 25% to OUZ for the entire 20 years. And that brings our net revenue to $1.15 million approximately, based on the conservative 30% estimate of output. And then our operation and maintenance, based on the costs of the Blue Creek Wind Farm in southern central Ohio, is about $300,000. And our depreciation expenses, based on a $15 million cost of the construction of the turbines themselves and a control unit, is $750,000. Our total startup cost is going to be about $19 million with all legal fees and everything such as that. We plan on securing that financing through sales of stock to local businesses. We have to have incorporated in order to receive that generation credit. The total line there is actually a mistake, unfortunately. As you can see, the operation and maintenance and the federal tax credit are basically canceling out. So we have an estimated $750,000 expenses yearly, including depreciation. And this is how our annual financials are estimated to look in the first 10 years. As you can see, we're estimating that we're going to have about $416,000 of profit based on conservative estimates. And I'm going to pass it off to Kelly.
In 2008, the Ohio Senate Bill 221 passed, stating that 12.5% of investor-owned utilities must be from a renewable energy source by 2025. Currently, we produce 443 megawatts from wind energy. So AEP has purchase power agreements And that is for the 4 investor-owned utilities in Ohio, which include AEP, First Energy, Duke, and Dayton Power and Light. As you can see, Southeastern Ohio is American Electric Power, which is why we decided to partner with them. So why AEP? Currently, they have about 1.5 million customers and over 1,500 employees. Transmission lines are over 8,000 miles long, and distribution lines are over 45,000. So their assets are $9.8 billion. So this is a list of publicly owned commission utilities in Ohio. And there's a list of our sources. Is there any questions?
Just running over your numbers a little bit. So basically, you're asking for an investment of $19 million from somebody.
Yes, more likely it would be split between multiple local investors is the ideal option.
Okay. And your return on investment for the 4 wind turbines per year is $400,000.
Yes.
Minus, or about $110,000 each.
Yes.
So that's about a 2% return on investment.
Yeah, it is rather low.
Yeah, for $19 million. Yeah, put in there. Yeah. The other thing is on your numbers relative to the various types of power generation, did you also look at the density of the power that you're generating from each one of those sources?
No, we didn't. Wind power is, of its nature, not predictable. You can't turn it on or turn it off. It has to be 100% backed up through other power sources.
Right. So you're looking at a 500 megawatt or greater power source in a nuclear power plant versus 2.5, right, from a
Yeah.
from a wind turbine. So the density of the number of wind turbines you'd have to equal the cost. See, that's the competitive thing we're looking at. All right. The only other thing I would throw in there is when you talk about the birds and things like that, remember you got migratory species as well that come through, and those tend to attract the riparian raptors. Right. So one thing you learn about birds is they will go where they want to go. So when you have and also the bigger problem we have is the Indiana bat. So just keep that in mind for your study.
Yes, I think the wildlife is a little bit more of a concern than what you all proposed. Yeah, and then bat season comes around, you gotta cut down trees, y'all ain't getting anywhere. They just won't let you. So, it goes back to some questions that I asked last week about the permitting, and had y'all looked into that, and what was that going to be? And the other question about the roads, have you guys pulled up the road use maintenance agreements just to make sure? Those are pretty big turbines you're pulling in. I worry that once you get off of 70 or 77, that there's bridges and things like that
Those might
may
be an
become,
issue.
may become a problem.
Yes, it's the road that runs down through there though is State Route 313, so it's a pretty wide set road. So I don't think it would be too much of an access issue.
It's actually down towards Cumberland. It's the same road that the Big Muskie went down through. So weight requirements, width requirements are all up to standard, would be acceptable for the wind turbines just as they were for the big machineries.
And to touch on your legal requirements, mostly we would need to secure GNAs, good neighbor agreements, with anybody in the nearby area who may be affected by it.
Okay. My other big thing, and I didn't, again, I asked it last week about, the efficiency, and you are dealing with mechanical things. 2 turbines break down for a week. Are you calling in maintenance on site, or are we calling in maintenance from away? And what does that look like in a month for you guys if you have 2 turbines down for a week? And the other 2 are only, and the other 2 are only producing at your 30%.
The 30% includes estimates for things such as breakages and whatever else. The local maintenance team would have some expertise for minor things, and for anything bigger, Games would have to be called, who is the provider on the units. Do you have anything else?
I was just going to say about the planning process, those environmental issues and permits and stuff, that was all included in the planning that the facility is going to require, and that was some of the things that we're going to pull in from the outside so that we could have those electrical engineers, environmental engineers to take a look at those issues.
Perfect, thank you.
And I believe we estimated about $5 million of expenses on that in our startup.
I guess my biggest concern again was the same as already's been mentioned here, the investment, the 19 million, and having the ability to get investors interested in that. I think it would take a very special investor that even that has such an interest in the environment to do that. Are there any did you look at any other types of incentives? You know, are there tax incentives or anything that can go directly to the investor through this to stimulate that?
Unfortunately, most of those incentives have expired within the last couple of years that were there. We had planned on, after year 10, offering it to local businesses. So we had considered giving, say, if a distribution center wanted to buy in a $2 million stake, they could get a further discount on the rate that they might pay for us under the energy provider selections that they make.
Also, if we can get AEP to invest in our original startup costs, because they're purchasing power agreements right now so that they can meet that deadline for the 12.5% from renewable sources. So I think that we could probably go to them and ask them to invest in our company, and that could be a large portion of the costs.
Right, that was going to be my next question. Would you consider approaching AEP for a direct investment rather than just having a contract with them? And have you done any research about these contracts that they're putting in place, these purchase agreements that they're putting in place now, to know that how those are structured to allow for that? You know, can they own a portion of the company that they're purchasing this type of power through?
I did look at the forms for the purchase power agreements, and they're like 6 pages long. And to be honest, I just glanced through them, but they're very in depth, and I think there is an option for them to invest.
Yeah, the way the wording of the law was, it was that it only has to be provided by 12.5%. It didn't require that they purchase it, produce it in-house, or anything of that effect either.
And what's an investor? You talked about company exit strategy. What's an investor's exit strategy? Because this would be a pretty close-held investment and not on the market. So have you thought anything about that? Because when you're sitting down with an investor, they're going to want to know, how can I get out if I need to, versus just you getting out?
We had not considered that previously.
Investors would have a buyout option. It would be in their initial contract.
Okay.
And we did talk about, as you mentioned previously, AEP purchasing, and investing the full 19 million. That's why we did supplemental with guided tours, partnering with OUZ. We do anticipate that OU or OUZ, the branch, would invest essentially at least $5 million into, because then they would in turn as well have classes that they could teach and various platforms of things that they could utilize.
Last question on the financials. The 400,000 plus in net income, you said 10-year period. Is that after 10 years or throughout that 10-year period?
That's throughout the 10 years following.
So what year do you become profitable?
Based on depreciation expense being linear, it should be the first year of generation.
Of generation, and
Yes.
it was a 5-year construction period?
Approximately.
Just one more. You've got your $19 million. Usually people value that by what the equipment cost is. So in your breakdown of your cost here, how much of that is your equipment that will retain value and be depreciated, and how much of it is your direct cost for construction, consulting fees, et cetera?
It was 14 million was based on the equipment, and it allowed a $1 million for a control facility. So we had $3.5 million per turbine and tower, and then times the, I believe it would come out to 13 million, and then 1 night.
Okay. Just realize what they're borrowing on is what you have as equipment, capital cost, right, that can be recouped. And they don't have much of a market to resell a wind turbine and take it down and resell it. So to get their money back, it's kind of difficult. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your presentations. They were all very well done, and the dialogue with the judges was also very well done. At this time, we're going to take a short 10-minute intermission and let the judges deliberate. There are cookies and refreshments out in the lobby for you to partake in, and I will make an announcement shortly when you can return. So, thank you. Myself and Mike Shore, Luke McDonough, Cindy Baum, we tried really hard to kind of to bring this to another level this year, and we're actually, if you want to check Channel 7 tonight, we will be on the news tonight. So that is something that with media relations we tried to do. So we really thank you all for coming and supporting, and the teams for really upping their game this year and bringing some really solid ideas. With that being said, we will go ahead and announce the second place prize, the runner-up, which will be awarded a $500 prize, and that will go to Ohio University Zanesville. And the first place prize, which will be awarded a $1,000 prize, will be awarded to Ohio University Eastern. Congratulations to the winners, and thank you guys all for coming and participating, and we really would like to have you guys all back next year. Some really solid ideas, some great dialogue with the judges, so thank you again and have a good night.